Just can't wait. We're going to give a report card to all the area programs: Colts, Hoosiers, basketball and football, Pacers, Purdue, football and basketball. We're talking about all of it. And you know what? Mostly it's good news. This is not a typical Kent Sterling report card, not the kind that I used to get when I was a student at IU. This is a little bit different. There are some superlatives here, while also an occasional failure. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about the Colts and why they are as good as they are. We're going to talk about the Pacers, why they're as bad as they are. We're going to talk about Indiana football and what we can expect tomorrow. We're going to talk about Indiana basketball and what we can expect Sunday night and then ongoing with Indiana basketball. And to tell you the truth, we're kind of grading on a curve a little bit with Indiana basketball. We don't know what the hell that is. Indiana basketball, like wins against Alabama A&M, and even Milwaukee, Marquette. I don't know what Marquette's going to be, for God's sake. So we're not sweating it, really. The way we're grading Indiana basketball is about how fun they are to watch right now. And guess what? They're really fun to watch. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to go over and visit with Ivan. Ivan's going to give us his picks for the weekend. Hopefully make all of us a little bit of money this weekend. This is Inside Indiana Sports Now for Friday, November 14th, 2025, brought to you by the great people at YouTube TV. You know them, you love them, and they're going to figure all this crap out with the Disney people. Subscribe when all of that is settled. Use the link in the show description to do it, and you're going to get $15 off your first month. How about that? Become a member today, because when you're a member, you can join us tomorrow morning at about 9 o'clock for the hoedown, the little hobnob, the get-together, the discussion, members-only discussion about sports, no notes, just comments and talking. That is it. And so that's a lot of fun, and we have a great time. Plus, if you're an all-meal deal level member, you know what? You get a free copy of my book, autographed. So there you go. Oops, the Art of Learning from Mistakes and Adventures. Only I could have lived this book. Only I could have written this book, because I did live this book. Make sure and smash the like button. And if you want to make a donation, no big whoop. But please include a comment or a question that elevates the level of discussion here on the channel. All right, let's go over the report card and talk about exactly how we gave these grades and what these grades mean moving forward. The Colts, I give an A-. And I give an A- because they should have beaten the Rams at SoFi. They didn't get that done. A.D. Mitchell, the late, great A.D. Mitchell, gone now, not forgotten. A lot of people taking joy because A.D. Mitchell had 6 targets last night, 1 catch, 4 drops. Wow, that's a lot of drops. I take no joy in that. I want A.D. Mitchell to do really, really well. I'd love for him to show us on the field the result of all his work and all that talent, even if it's for the Jets, especially this year because the Colts don't play the Jets. So I take no joy in A.D. Mitchell's failures last night. The Colts, more or less, are really succeeding at a level that we did not expect. I mean, a lot of people were saying, 9-8, 10-7, that kind of thing, and that was reasonable. The over-under for wins this season for the Colts was 7.5. Them getting that done in the first 10 and turning everybody who took the over into winners, that's a sign of things headed in the right direction, quite obviously. Jonathan Taylor has been unbelievable. The acquisition of Mooney Ward, despite his 2 concussions, not good. Hopefully he's back for the game against the Chiefs, and if he is, I think the Colts got a really good shot at winning that game. But Mooney Ward has been spectacular. I think Tyler Warren has been unbelievable, but very believable. That's a guy coming out of Penn State that you thought was going to behave like this and be able to play like this and affect games like this when he came out of Penn State. 14th overall pick. Thank you, Chicago Bears. Appreciate you. Daniel Jones has been really, really good. Thank you, New York Giants and Minnesota Vikings. Appreciate you. And Tanner Bordellini has been kind of a revelation as a center. Really, really good. How he lasted until the 5th round, I have no earthly idea. His athleticism, his intellect, his ability to lead and process has been just awesome in only his second year. This is a better offensive line because Tanner Bortolini is the center. No shade to Ryan Kelly, but Tanner Bortolini has been straight up terrific. If the Colts can finish the remaining 7 games of this season, the 7 games, 4-3, they wind up 12-5, and they are probably the 2 seed in the AFC. That would be quite something unexpected. I don't mind the 2 seed. I'm cool with the 2 seed. You don't have to go on the road until the AFC Championship game. Of course, I'd rather have the 1 seed, but the 2 seed, I'm not. What you don't want to have to do, and it doesn't look like they would have to do it, because the Bills, the Bills are losing games that are going to put them behind the 8 ball where it comes to seeding in the AFC playoffs. You don't want to go to Buffalo. You don't want to go to New England. You'd much rather have that game here. And they got to start thinking like this. They got to start processing these games one at a time as opportunities to host. You don't want to go to Denver. You want to play in Lucas Oil Stadium with elements not being an issue in the month of January. If you can just play at Lucas Oil Stadium, you got a real chance to raise some hell. Although, I got to tell you the truth too. If the weather is a factor, I don't mind this team in weather. They are built to be a mudder. You got Jonathan Taylor. You got this isn't a precision deep ball kind of attack. This is dink and dunk and hit guys in the seam and throw outs and all of that kind of stuff and do your job and chew up ground as you chew up the clock. It's that kind of offense, and that tends to play well in bad weather. Hopefully, we don't see any. I don't want any bad weather. I want indoor football at Lucas Oil Stadium. You know what? It's been wonderful, too, to go get wins against the Broncos, maybe a game they should have lost, against the Falcons, a game they easily could have lost, right? And a game against the Cardinals where they had to come back in the 4th quarter to get that thing done. Good to win those kinds of games because those are the kinds of games you've got to win in the postseason. All right, let's talk about IU football. I give guess what IU football gets? Can you guess what IU football gets? IU football gets an A+. What else would you get? 10-0, going to be 11-0 after about 24 hours from right now. They will be well on their way to an 11-0 start for the first time in program history, obviously. And one game, a bucket game away from going 12-0 in the regular season, securing a spot in the Big Ten championship, and securing a spot in the college football playoff. Because even if they lose in the Big Ten championship, that isn't going to knock them out of the playoffs. It might knock them out of that first round bye, but it's not going to knock them out of the playoffs. They are playing at an unbelievable level, where even Nick Saban, who is as big a honk for the SEC as anybody, was on the Pat McAfee show not too long ago, just today, maybe an hour ago, saying there are 3 teams that have really distanced themselves in terms of the way they play and the domination they have shown through this season. And they are Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Indiana. I couldn't agree more. Indiana making it to the Final Four of college football. Who would have seen that happening? Inspirate says, I actually would love if instead of a first round, we got to host a game in Bloomington. I'd love that too. I'd love to host Notre Dame down in Bloomington and kick the hell out of them. That would be a lot of fun. Whoever they play, whatever. If they slip to the 5 seed, you know what? Go to Bloomington, go to Memorial Stadium. The latest game, obviously, in Memorial Stadium's, 55-year history. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that. I am with you 100%, but I would rather that they go ahead and don't have to play that first one, don't have to take a chance on getting an injury, don't have to take a chance on maybe a team rising up and smiting the Indiana Hoosiers. But they are going. Kurt Cignetti proving that last year was a start of something special, not a fluke. That's important. How about IU basketball? A. Give them an A because they're really fun to watch. Watching the Marquette game, watching Alabama A&M, watching the other night as they took apart Milwaukee in the second half. You know what? This team does the right stuff offensively again and again and again and again. they're really good. The areas of concern, they aren't really going to avail themselves until they play against maybe Kansas State, but against Louisville, Kentucky, and those the tougher, bigger teams in the Big Ten. You got to be able to rebound the basketball, and this is not a team built to rebound. They are a team built to hit threes. And when they hit threes at the level they have the last two games, and those last two games, same exact stat line, 14 to 28 from beyond the arc, you know what? They're going to win a lot of games. You got to be able to shoot. I don't know how Mike Woodson missed that class. If he took Bob Knight's class, he's a good shooter. If he took Bob Knight's class at Indiana, Bob Knight would have said, you know what? If you can't shoot, you can't play. You defend to get on the floor. You shoot to stay on the floor. All right. I don't know whether he actually said that. That actually doesn't really sound like something that Bob Knight would say. But this team shoots really, really well. And they do their best defensively, and that's all we can hope for. They are really fun to watch. Their offense is smart. It's modern. It's threes and dunks and layups and nothing else. And that's the way it should be, because math supports that leads to wins. All right, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers. I should have left them for last. You know what? We'll leave the Pacers for last. We'll talk about Purdue for just a second. Purdue football, I'm giving a C-. Why a C-, despite the fact that they have not won a Big Ten game? Because they're playing hard and they're competing. And so, you know, in the first year under Barry Odom, they have figured out a way to compete at a high level where they haven't done that in a while. And they need to. So, like against Ohio State, they competed. Against Washington, they're going to compete. And then against Indiana, they're going to show up and compete their asses off, and Indiana better be ready for it. Indiana better not overlook Purdue, or you're going to be looking at a deficit midway through the second quarter, and you can't have that if you're Indiana. It's not a talented team, but man, they compete. And that's all you can ask in the first year of a rebuild, unless you're Indiana and Curt Cignetti. How about Purdue basketball? I give them an A. You know what? What else are you going to give them? They should be the number one team in the country. They beat Alabama at Alabama, beating, I believe this is true, a top 10 team. That can't be. A top 10 team on the road, maybe non-conference, top 10 team on the road for the first time since 1970. Is that the way I know they've beaten top 10 teams on the road as they played against Big Ten opponents. So it's got to be non-conference, right? But that was a good game. They played smart. They win that thing 87-80. They were really, really good. Really fun to watch. That offense is so well drilled. Those guys are so old and so steady. JMS says IU football gave Penn State only its 126th loss at home. Well, there you go. All time? That's not a lot of losses at home. Good for Indiana. Everything's good for Indiana. It's looking up from every direction. Indiana is gazing down upon the world of college football and saying, yes, we are among you, and we are going to kick all your asses. How about that? I hope. Yeah, still, you say things about Indiana basketball, and you can't believe they're coming out of your mouth. You just can't believe it. Yeah, Purdue basketball is just really, really, really good. And they are fun to watch. I know it's a little bit early, so we're a little bit short on viewers, but that's okay. That doesn't bother me in the least. You know, when we do the members-only thing, it's always under 100 views because I think we've got 117 members. So there's no way to have, more. That would be weird to have more than 100 views by my reckoning. So let's talk to Ivan and see what Ivan has to say about the slate of games this week. Make sure, as we pivot, that Ivan is correctly framed and we get this thing set just right. I'm not like a TV station that's got the fancy robot thing working. All right, let's see. There's Ivan, looking beautiful as always. Ivan, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. You know what? This weather, it's good for my sap. I don't have a lot of sap working. I
the sap gets in my eyes and it's hard to blink. So I like this. Although, all the leaves blowing around. You can see they're saying, could you get this thing out of my hair? Kent, for God's sake. See this thing? Yep. All right. This thing? Yeah, I'll get that. Look at that. Much better. Has that been bothering you? Has that been there for a while? It's been there for weeks. You didn't notice it. I thought maybe I'd have to point it out to your ass to make sure that you got that done. All right. Let's talk about picks. Let's talk about making some money. Let's talk about the Hoosiers and the Badgers. Bucky Badger coming to town, and it's retribution for 2010. That 83-point beatdown. They scored 83. Indiana scored 20 up in Madison on that dark day in 2010. Indiana, a 28.5-point favorite, down from the original minus 30.5. Indiana gets the win. Indiana gets the cover. And if you can bet as a prop that Wisconsin will not score, I recommend that. All right. Fighting Irish, they're a Pitt. Fighting Irish, a 12.5-point favorite. Give me Pitt. I want to get points. I want Pitt. I think Notre Dame's going to win, but I think it's going to be closer than 12.5. How about Purdue at Washington? You know what? Washington's coming off a loss to the formerly Big Ten winless Wisconsin Badgers. They lost that game 13-10. Purdue, a 15.5-point favorite. I love Purdue as a 15.5-point dog. So let me be clear. Purdue is a 15.5-point dog. I love Purdue plus 15.5. Georgia against Texas at Georgia. All right, Georgia, a 6.5-point favorite. I think that Georgia beats the shit out of, excuse my language. May God strike me and split me in half. Georgia is going to cover this, I think, 3 times over. I think they win this game by 20. Let's go to the NFL. Bears at Vikings. Vikings minus 2.5. I love the Vikings to cover this. I think the Bears and Caleb Williams are going to recede to the mean. I like J.J. McCarthy in this game. This is do or die for the Vikes at 4-5. They beat the Bears in the season opener 27-24 in Chicago. They go for the sweep Sunday. I believe they get it. All right, Seahawks. Whoa, Seahawks at the Rams. Did you know that the Seahawks are undefeated on the road this year? Undefeated 4-0. All right, you know what? Rams, they are 4-1 at home. I think that this one goes to the Rams. The Rams, 3.5-point favorites. I love the Rams to cover in this game. I don't think the Seahawks are nearly as good as the Seahawks think they are. And I think Matthew Stafford is rolling. I think the Rams get the win. Ivan has spoken. Well, there you go. There's Ivan. We've given the report card. We gave Ivan's picks. I hope you enjoy them. We'll be back tomorrow morning. It's going to be a good, fun weekend. We've got the members-only chat at about 9 o'clock. We don't do it right at 9. I don't wake myself up extra special. And, if it's 9:15, it's 9, whatever. It's not a specific time is the point. If you're a member, you're eligible to join. If you're not a member, you are not eligible to join. So become a member at any level. And you can sit in with us and enjoy a fun conversation about sports. And then, of course, we will have at about 3:30 tomorrow afternoon a post game, the IU-Wisconsin game. Hopefully it is celebratory. Hopefully they cover the 28.5. Hopefully it's a win. Hell, starting 11-0. Indiana's never done that. They started 10-0 last year. Then they went to Columbus. I went to Columbus with them, not on the bus or anything, but went to Columbus, and I was there as Indiana kind of went haywire in the mist. Right? In the Columbus mist, they had some special teams miscues. I don't think that's going to happen this week in Week 12. I think Indiana gets this done, heads into the bye week happy healthy, ready to roll into Ross-Ade Stadium for the Redout at Ross-Ade. We'll see how all that goes. Inspirate says hope to see everybody tomorrow at the live session before IU football. Domination. Damn right. Let's go. Cannot wait. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome weekend. Then Sunday, we do have Indiana playing against Incarnate Word. And that game is on the Big Ten Network, so we'll have a post game after that. We are all about sharing the mirth and joy of sports in Central Indiana on a weekend like this, where everybody's playing their asses off, minus the Indiana Pacers, who've got a game tomorrow night against the Toronto Raptors. I'm not optimistic.